Their website is SchulzeFamilyBeef.com.
All right, folks, let's get started. Parents, thanks for coming. As many know, I'm Coach Mather. Tonight, I want to talk about the season, of which I only have one expectation, that everybody gets stronger. When I say get stronger, I'm not referring solely to physical strength. Sure, we'll be in the weight room, we'll be running stairs, but we're also going to focus on developing mental toughness and grit, because those are the characteristics that allow us to achieve greatness both on and off the court. So, how do we develop those things? By getting comfortable with a challenge, by cultivating the confidence necessary to overcome adversity in all forms. That's why I coach. That's my purpose. Every member of this team can lean on me, and I'll teach them how they can lean on themselves and each other.
This message presented by the IHSA and the Illinois Athletic Directors Association.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Good evening. Welcome into the big show for a Monday. Oh, it's so nice outside. Just like I said last hour, I want the show to be outside. It's so nice out there, 80 degrees, sunshine, little breezy, but it is delightful. Hey, let's welcome in Mr. Ron Curtis Grace to the program. How you doing, Ron?
You can go outside and do a remote if you want. You know, Frank and I can hold down.
Yeah, we'll hold it down.
Oh, yeah, Frank is with us here. Frank the
By the
Tank is
way,
staying with
Frank,
us.
did you bring any autographed 8x10 glossies now that you're a big time broadcaster?
I'm not a big shot. You know, I'm a simple man who likes to call hockey and just happens to get paid for it.
Well, you've been that's been your dream for as long as I've known you.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you. You know, we've got the USHL Phase 1 and Phase 2 drafts are coming up Monday and Tuesday, so I'll be back in Omaha for the season. And yeah, it's going to be a great time. Our general manager, Mark Fritchie, has done a lot of great scouting. Ron Fogarty, head coach, came over from Princeton. He's a wizard and a great coach, knows what he wants out of his guys, and he gets it. Looking for a better season this coming year. And we just announced our new president, Mike West of Business Operations, was the assistant. It was the associate senior athletic director for University of Nebraska Omaha, worked with Creighton. So the Lancers have a bright future ahead of them, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Well, you have an agent yet?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know you probably signed up with a speakers bureau as well.
Not yet, no.
You
But
know, as
my
many
agent,
videos as I've seen you addressing conferences and seminars and the like, you're in demand, man.
you know what? I appreciate that, Ron, but you know, it's just I put my pants on one leg at the time, and you know what? My agent does the same thing. Matt Oates of O2K Sports works with NHL guys, TJ Oshie, Ryan Hartman, Nick Dowd, and he's a Chicago guy as well. Graciously took me on as a client. And Oatsy is the best guy in the business. If you're a hockey player listening, O2K Sports Management, they are the best in the business.
Now, Rusty, I've already figured out that when he wins his first Emmy, he's already got the thank yous memorized.
I said this last hour. I can see him in 5 years end up, going for an AHL team or maybe in the NHL. I can see this
Speaking
happening.
of broadcasting,
Yes.
anybody seen Dan Bernstein lately?
No, he's not around anymore, is he?
No, they promoted Layla Rahimi.
I heard that today.
Yes.
I did hear that. I saw it on X today.
Layla
X, Twitter, depends how you wanna say
Rahimi
it.
and
Yeah.
Harris.
Yeah, you want to know something? She tried herself at TV, and I thought she was pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think her, should we say, fanfare stands more on radio. She does a darn good job on it, and I think it's very deserving.
I thought she did a great job, TV and radio.
I thought she did too. She knew her stuff, and
Because sometimes when Holmes was with Bernstein, and Layla would come in on the Wednesdays, Layla Wednesdays, she was sometimes the anchor of that show when she was on.
She's on Sports Sunday with Mike Berman, and she's had some talent there, but I think her niche is more towards radio than it is TV.
Okay. The panic that is spreading across the state.
Panic? Are we
Yeah, there's
panicking?
panic. Well, there's a deadline coming up on May 7th.
Oh,
Well, wait,
for
hold on
real
a
ID.
second. We've already passed the deadline for tax day, which was recently.
April 15th.
Now we got another deadline we got to worry about.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of misunderstanding. I won't necessarily say misinformation, but misunderstanding about the real ID.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had a feeling that it was going to get pretty hectic
Mm-hmm.
because we are in large part a nation of procrastinators.
True.
I have neighbors who just within the last couple of weeks took the Christmas lights down.
Uh-huh.
But so I decided in March that I was going to go get mine.
Lucky you.
Now, here's my experience. I went online and I looked. I was going to go to Waukegan.
Mm-hmm.
And some places on Secretary of State Alexi Janulius's website, in some places it said you had to have an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And in other places on the same website, it said you didn't. So I figured I'll go and check it out in person.
Sure.
Well, they have some serious looking guards. And this one was, yeah, I have to watch myself when I say this. I was about to say an older woman,
Oh.
but everybody that I describe as older now is younger than I am.
That's true.
Thanks a lot, Frank.
Well, happy birthday, Ron.
Thank you. So first thing, before I could get 2 feet inside the door,
Mm-hmm.
she said, "Do you have an appointment?"
Oh, yeah.
And I said, "Well, no, you have to have an appointment." I said, "Well, some places on the website it says you have to have one. Other places says it's not necessary. No, you have to have an appointment."
Mm-hmm.
I said, I didn't come to debate with you. I'm simply expressing that there's conflicting information on the website."
Oh, yes.
People take things the wrong way.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Like in Nebraska, so easy to get a real ID. So easy. I walk into a place. The only thing I needed was just to get my vehicle's title, and I grabbed the title, grabbed the registration, paid a $25 fee that goes straight to the tax fund. And
Wait a minute, hold on. It's easier in Nebraska than it is here.
yes, that is correct.
Frank, I don't mean to pinpoint this. I went over the weekend and I ran into what he was talking about.
We didn't need an appointment.
But here's the thing. I went to the Deerfield location.
Yep.
They wouldn't let me get into the door. Do you have an appointment? Appointment? What appointment? What are you talking about? I had no clue. I got pushed out very fast. 2:30, 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. Call this number. What number are you talking about? Right here on the sign. I called the number. You got to wait till Monday to get the appointment.
Bro.
So I was up at 6:30 this morning calling, waited 45 minutes. And they told me you have to wait until the end of the week to maybe get an appointment for the Deerfield location, but you can walk into these other locations. There's 20 locations on the sheet that they handed me, 2 pages of sheets, but it's tougher than what it seems to get that appointment. And what they say on the website, you can't get an appointment on the website.
Well, here's what I did.
went through about 10 pages. I could not find one appointment.
When I left Waukegan, I went to the Lindenhurst Park District, do my workout as you know, walk on the track, get my steps in and everything.
Yeah.
And I checked. I went to get an appointment online. So I looked at Waukegan and it said no appointments available. It didn't say no appointments available today. It said no appointments available. So then I went and looked at Lake Zurich. It said no appointments available. But then I saw an 800 number for seniors. And I called that number and you got the typical, your call is very important to us. However, all of our associates are busy handling other clients.
Yep.
You know. But your wait time should be no more than a couple of minutes.
Oh.
Well, I put my phone in my pocket. I had my earbuds in and I said, no, I'm going to continue my workout. I'm going to walk. I'm going to outlast you. So I called at 9 o'clock. I finally got a human being at 9:14.
Wow. 15 minutes. Not bad.
So she tried to get an appointment at Waukegan. She could not.
All right.
A Secretary of State employee couldn't get one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Then she found one at Lake Zurich for 10 o'clock the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I got there at 9:45, and there's a guy that, you have an appointment? Yes, I do. Real ID. Got there at 9:45. At 10:05, I was leaving.
Wow, that's quick.
And you must have a lot. Either their appointments are inefficient, or there's a lot of people making those appointments.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think if you go to the Secretary of State's website now, the big disclaimer, the big banner says, do you really need a real ID?
Mm-hmm.
They're saying there's so much traffic now that they say you can get one after May 7th, but if you have a passport, in essence, they're saying, well, you really don't need it yet.
Well, question for you, though. What is the starting age for seniors?
As far as Secretary of State is
Yeah.
concerned, 65.
All right, 65. See, some people, some places you go for seniors, it could be 60, could be 55. I was just wondering that for our seniors that might be listening.
Well, I found that out because 11 years ago when I was renewing my license and I went to the Waukegan DMV, the line was outside and halfway around the building. And I said, oh, no. And I walked in and I looked and I saw this line. But then I looked up. It was like an epiphany. I looked up and I saw a sign for an adjacent line that said seniors and disabled. And I said, seniors 65. And I said, oh, wait a minute. I'm 65. I wasn't used to being 65. So I walked up there. And if you go into the senior or disabled line, they stop helping the people in the other line and take care of you. So I was so happy to be an old man.
Hey, Ron, this is interesting too, because the conversation I had this morning, the Deerfield location, you need an appointment for Saturday. Saturdays is all the real IDs. But she did mention that Lake Zurich, which is in Lake County, and Waukegan, you don't need really appointments on Saturday, but you have to be there before 11:30, 12 o'clock. So I'm a little confused how that thing works out. But she did mention to me, if you want to go downtown on 171 or 191 North Clark, I wish I brought the sheet with me, but they said that's like a super location for real IDs. But I talked to somebody over the weekend that said, if you go to that place, expect you're going to be waiting for 2 to 3 hours. They have lines outside the building and wrapped around. So the interest for this whole real ID thing is a lot at the moment. So if you're flying somewhere quickly, you need it quickly. But I'm planning on going somewhere in the summertime in July, but I want to get it done already. But everyone's jumping on this May 7th deadline. And I'm wondering, do you think government might push it back again? Or do you think this is going to be the drop dead date?
No, they've pushed it back so many times. I don't think they're going to push it back again. I have a passport, but I don't want to carry my passport for domestic travel. Because like anything else, the more you handle something, the more you run the risk of damaging it or losing it. Now, if I'm traveling internationally, there's no question I have to take my passport. I have a carry-on small travel backpack, and I have a special zipped-up pocket where the passport goes. So I'm a creature of habit. I know where it is all the time. But I don't want to have to do that. This August, I think we're going to fly out to Napa Valley. I don't want to take a passport there.
And just to let everybody know, if you want to get to the website, you're going to love this, all right? This is the way to get to the Secretary of State's official website to get more information on the real IDs. Just put in ilsos.gov.
Okay.
Get it?
Yep.
Illinois SOS.gov, and it'll get you to the website. So you can find all this great information about real IDs and all the confusing information that you can't get any, believe it or not, any appointments.
And I think the real issue is that the local municipalities need to get their ducks in a row with the state, because the problem is that, as you mentioned, Ron, like there is no consistency There's no consistency. Some places you need an appointment, some places you don't. Nebraska, I call, they don't need an appointment. Come on in anytime.
But here's the thing: you bring that up. There's nobody in Illinois that can run out to Nebraska to get it.
But you know what I'm saying. My
Yeah.
point is that each state does it differently, and I think the state government is the expression "too many cooks in the kitchen." I think that's exactly what's happening here.
What's the population of Nebraska?
Well, I'm not disputing that. My point is,
No,
that
I'm
they
just,
have it
I'm
more.
just asking a question.
Oh, I have no idea what the population of
A lot
Nebraska is.
less than Illinois.
It's a lot less than Illinois. But my point is that if you had a standardized, this is our policy, this is what happens, this is what needs to happen, this is how you do A, B, and C, then you and Rusty wouldn't have had to go through all
Well,
that
let me
nonsense.
ask you this question: How many employees did you see at the facility you visited?
A good amount, actually. There were a lot of employees there.
Because where I was, they had 26 windows manned.
Yeah, we only
And I asked the gentleman who assisted me how many employees they had total, and he said about 33.
okay. Then they're working hard.
Oh yeah, there was nobody slouching. But yeah, that's
And I do have one other thing to pass along. If someone's got a pencil or pen, they want to write this down. I'll do this slowly. This is a number you call if you want to make an appointment. This is a number that was given to do this. You want to dial 844. Everyone's writing this down. I'm doing this slowly. 817-4649.
would
However,
you
gotta
repeat
do
that number,
yes,
please,
do that
Rusty?
one more time. 844-817-4649. You can do it from 6:30 until 5 o'clock Monday through Friday. They're not open on the weekends. That is the phone board to the driver's license Secretary of State. So everyone's got that written down, I hope.
Yeah, and it goes back to that too many cooks in the kitchen analogy. There's too many people trying too many different things. So
Let me ask all of you.
fire.
How many patrons of the library do we have here?
I have
Okay,
I go
Jill.
occasionally.
Occasionally, Rusty.
How many? What was that? I was tied up on something here.
How many patrons of the library?
I
do we-
was just wondering
Patrons?
how many
Oh.
use the library.
How many use the library? I go there occasionally. Yeah.
Okay, no, man. If they had frequent flyer,
Now hold on a second. Before you get to the library and pick out a book, somebody came in and did and wanted to get some library books. Believe it or not, we have Jill with us now.
lady.
Hey, Jill, how you doing?
I'm good. Is this on?
Yeah,
Of course, it's not.
I think talking about too many cooks in the kitchen. There might be too many people in the studio. What do you
No,
think?
never.
Well,
Jill
maybe
Jill
there's one too many.
One too many.
No, but the thing is, Jill came in and she wanted to be part of the show tonight. I said, "Sure, come on in."
Well, I wanted to see how, particularly Jill and Frank, feel about this,
Fire.
because one of the things I've enjoyed over the years, and I'm at the library, at least twice a month. As a matter of fact, if my wife's got some of her girlfriends over, and I get this glazed look over my eyes, she'll tell them, "He's out of books. Get out of the way." But for books that I wanted to read that my Lake Villa library didn't have, I was able to get them from other nearby libraries within this cooperative network.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd get them from Warren Newport and Gurnee, sometimes from the Cook Library in Libertyville.
Yep.
Well, now it appears that that's going to be a problem with what's going on in Washington.
Really?
There have been some executive orders to defund the Institute of Museum and Library Services. And also in Illinois, it's an organization called RAILS, Reach Across Illinois Library System.
Sure.
And when you borrow a book from another library, you'll put in that request into the system, and they have delivery drivers that move these books back and forth between the participating libraries.
Yeah, I loved that as a kid. When I wanted a specific comic book from like the Antioch Library, and I was living in Glenview. They transferred over.
Well, and also some of this funding from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, the IMLS, funds bookmobiles
Mm-hmm.
in some suburban and rural areas. And now all of that's in jeopardy because Washington is saying we're cutting down on bureaucracy and they're withholding the funding like right now.
For the lending from different libraries, not for the funding for the library itself.
Well, the funding for these programs, that's what I say, it
Okay.
comes out of the IMLS.
Right.
But if you cut back the funding there, then they have less money to distribute to their members. And you know, one of the things that has bothered me for a long time, personally, I don't think we're as much of a reading society as we once were.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that to a physical paper extent. I think a lot of people are getting sucked into the digital world, and that's where we have to have media literacy training more in high school because, you know, digital technology is this phone that I'm holding up. This is where everybody's getting their news from. So we have to make sure that people are literate in that.
And then half the reels I see these days are, even to my eye, obviously AI generated.
Right.
I don't have time to waste on that. But I know our old library building, and I'm going back maybe 15 years, it got to the point that people are using the library, this is just my own anecdotal observation, as a free blockbuster. I see far more DVDs and games going
Right.
out the door than I see books. As a matter of fact, at the old location on Deep Lake and Grand, they had the section where they had the new arrivals. Beneath it, on the lower shelf, they had the new games and movies. I often could not get to the books for the crowd of people looking at the movies and the games.
Right.
So I got to thinking because see, I grew up in an era where you got your news. Growing up in Chicago, you had two daily morning papers, the Sun-Times and the Tribune, and you had two daily evening papers that would catch you up on what you missed during the workday, the Daily News and the Herald American. You had three network channels on TV, CBS, ABC, NBC, and locally, of course, we had WGN.
Yeah, WGN.
We got news at 6 o'clock. We got news at 10 o'clock. We didn't have a 5 o'clock newscast and a 4 o'clock newscast
Nope.
and an 11 o'clock newscast. We didn't have any of that. And now we have all of these 24-hour news channels, and we have all of these blogs and podcasts. There's not enough news to consume 24 hours. And with as many organizations as you have, as many outlets that are broadcasting news 24 hours, since there's not enough to go around, guess what? You have to make stuff up.
No.
And the trick is that a lot of times you'll get like people selling themselves out,
Oh, sure.
like to make things look credible. I don't know if that makes sense, but you'll
Oh,
be
it
like,
makes sense. But when I saw that, it led me to do some homework and see what our literacy rates are. Matter of fact, among industrialized nations, the U.S. ranks 34th.
that doesn't surprise me. That does not surprise
34.
me. I mean, with
Mhm.
all these conspiracy theories going around, I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
Now, in 2024, the U.S. literacy rate was estimated at about 79%. And here's what I found that really shocked me. 54% of U.S. adults demonstrate literacy skills below a sixth grade level.
That's bad.
I that doesn't surprise me. My dad has a saying. He said, "Frank, the world is run by C students, and there's a lot more C students than A and B students in the world, and we need to improve that as a society."
Well, I think your dad's verbiage needs to be updated. I think based on this, at least this country is being run by a lot of
D and F.
C minus and D students.
You know the point that I'm trying to make.
But think about it. 54% of adults at a sixth grade level and 20% falling even below a fifth grade level. Now, I remember hearing anecdotally years ago, decades ago, that military manuals for commonality purposes were written at a fifth grade level. Now, literacy impacts income.
Mm-hmm.
It impacts the economy. It even impacts, believe it or not, and I'm not saying it's causal, it may be correlational.
Yeah.
The cost of healthcare.
That doesn't surprise me.
Because an undereducated person doesn't quite know how to be an advocate for themselves.
Exactly.
So this ends up being more costly both personally as well as societally.
Exactly.
And I thought, okay, we're this bad off and we rank 34th among the industrialized nations.
Who's below us?
I don't
Do you
have
really
the list
want
in
to know?
front of me.
I do actually want to know that. I do
Look it
want
up and see what you can
literacy
find out.
ratings among
Look into yourself there, but it doesn't surprise us, guys.
But I look at
Come
that
on.
and say, in the midst of all of this, here's what we're going to do: decrease funding to libraries. I don't get it.
Well, it's like everything else that we're fighting through.
It doesn't surprise me.
We're seeing food prices go up. We're seeing gas prices go up. Take a look what we're going through as a society, and this is what everybody wanted. This is what everybody voted for. Ron, I hate to say it. Oh, everything's going to go down. Well, I'm not sure if I'm jumping to the fact that this is going to happen anytime soon.
Well, I got news for you, Rusty. As far as I'm concerned, and I'm not going to get on my soapbox, but as far as I'm concerned, this whole two-party thing is a myth.
Mm-hmm.
They both slop at the same corporate troughs on K Street and Wall Street. Billionaires and hedge fund managers don't remain billionaires and hedge fund managers by putting all their eggs in one basket.
Are those the expensive?
They
by the way?
contribute to both of these so-called parties.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that ever changes is the percentage based on who's got the White House and who's got the Congress.
Well, speaking more in a general term, I understand the reasoning behind people wanting to save money and cut funding if it is unneeded. The way that this is being handled, I will say, is inappropriate. The way it's being handled, specifically because if you're going to do something, you do it right. You don't do it halfway. You don't just say, oh, we're just going to go in here. We're going to cut this, cut that. No, you need to have a detailed plan. If we want to cut government waste, which I am for cutting government waste, if it is government waste, the problem is we aren't doing it in a methodical way where we're looking at things critically and saying, this is good. This is not good. We're firing from the hip right now and saying, hey, we're going to take you, and you, cut all the funding, when sometimes the people making the decisions don't even know what the funding goes to.
So what does this remind you of? This kind of paradigm.
Give me a nugget.
What happens when corporations have a bad quarter?
Recession.
And they need to save money. What's the first thing they do?
They fire people.
Thank you.
They fire
Right.
people. You save money.
And guess what? You're going to see the jobless rate go up big time.
I
Probably double the amount within the next 2-3 months.
To give you an idea, and I'm not going to get into too much detail, but I was in purchasing, and there was a utility company that had bought something from our firm that was called an expansion joint. Now, an expansion joint, when you have some movement, either vertical or lateral with a series of piping, you put something in that has some elasticity so it can flex and take some of that movement, okay, without breaking anything.
Sure.
Well, this particular expansion joint cost them $400. And I found out what this expansion joint was. It was an automobile tire that got cut in half and assembled around the pipe flange.
Wait, what?
An automobile tire that got cut in half and assembled around the flange of a pipe.
So that's what they spent, what, $4 million?
$400 on an expansion joint. And a guy just went to the automotive shop, bought a tire, and brought it back to the shop. And so, well, you want us to balance it? Nope. Yeah. Well, you want us to mount? Nope. Just give me the tire.
This half hour went by so fast.
Now
Yes,
that's waste, And I said, if anything ever happened to our business, I said I knew exactly where I could go and tell them, you don't even have to pay me a salary. Just give me 50% of what I save you each quarter.
You got some work to do, don't you, tonight?
Yes, I do. Now I have to go serve the people as an elected official, not a politician, an elected official.
All right. We got some other topics to talk about on the big show. Stay with us.
I'm out.
Well, look at me, I'm coming back again. I got a taste of love and a simple WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Save money so there's no government waste. Those of us who are village trustees. Programming on 98.3 The Life is sponsored in part by Oxtail Market in Lake Villa. Oxtail Market is a Schultze Family Farms retail store providing meat products direct from their own third-generation Wisconsin farms. Oxtail Market, they're bringing that farm fresh experience of steaks and beef to their neighbors in Illinois. Oxtail Market is located at 777 South Milwaukee Avenue. That's Route 83, Unit J in Lake Villa. Their phone number is 224-372-1021. For more information, their website is schultzefamilybeef.com.
Hello, this is Ted Schneider, host of Improv Leadership, coming to you live on 98.3 FM The Life, Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'll discuss a variety of topics from relationship advice, self-improvement topics, motivational topics, mindful living, current events, book reviews, and even an occasional guest in the studio. So please join me on Improv Leadership, Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on 98.3 FM The Life, or streaming live on 983thelife.com. Hello, this is Ted Schneider, host of Improv Leadership, coming to you live on 98.3 FM The Life, Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'll discuss a variety of topics from relationship advice, self-improvement topics, motivational topics, mindful living, current events, book reviews, and even an occasional guest in the studio. So please join me on Improv Leadership, Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on 98.3 FM The Life, or streaming live on 983thelife.com.
Raising little ones is a big job, and Bright by Text is here for support. Get helpful tips, info, and activities sent to your phone. Bright by Text is for caregivers of kids newborn to age 8. It's a public service, and it's available in English and Spanish. Sign up now by texting UWLC to 274-448. Help give your child a bright beginning. Bright by Text from United Way of Lake County. This message is brought to you by UCC Environmental.
Hey, cats and kittens. Join me, Gray Dolan, Sunday mornings at 11 for Mood Swings with Gray Dolan. Each week we'll visit a different genre, style, and mood of music here on The Life 98.3.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Welcome back to the big show for a Monday evening. Oh, is it so delightful? I just can't believe that you're going to sing here now, Frank. That's Ron's job. Come on, unless Jill wants to pipe in here. You
Frank
want to
and
do
I
it?
could sing, I think.
Who knows?
Come on, you never know. Hey, right now it's, believe it or not, 84 degrees. Expected low tonight. How about 66? That's it. That's it. And then tomorrow we'll be in the 70s to start the day, maybe drop back to the 60s, but it will be windy. Showers and thunderstorms, a probability later on this evening and tonight. Bruce Becker will be joining with us in a bit to talk about that circumstance. And then we're also going to hit something about the draft that happened over the weekend with the Bears and Packers and all those fans that were up at Lambeau Field. But right now, I've got Mr. Mike Babbage on the line to talk a little bit about racing. Do you guys know about racing? Car racing? You ever heard about that?
A little bit.
A little bit?
Formula One.
So, Mike, how you doing? Yeah, I know you're excited about that. What's happening? You got a big car show coming up this week?
Ooh. Nice.
Just to let you know, I'm looking at the early prognostication. You may have some awfully nice weather for Sunday. I remember it was cold, but I'm just saying, I got a feeling. Oh yeah. Yeah, I know Dom's a big car guy. Hey, where's the car show going to be at again? What exact location? Mm-hmm. 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 Hey, Mike, one last question before we let you go. Where's the best place to park around there, around the marina? Because I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of cars there. I don't think anybody wants to park in Lake Michigan, but do you have any better ideas? All right. Sounds like a fun time. 1 to 5 on Sunday. And what time do the gates open on Saturday night? And you're putting your guarantees out there, aren't you? Oh, come on. Hey, one last question for you, and very quickly. How many years have you been involved in racing in Lake County? Yeah, wait a minute. There was a Waukegan Speedway around here somewhere? Right outside of Park City, if I remember correctly, right? All right. Hey, Mike, thanks for coming on. Good luck coming up on Saturday night and Sunday. All right. I already did that this weekend. It's called Windburn. Thank you. All right, Mike Babbage, we appreciate him coming on to talk about racing at Wilmot, and then also the race show that's coming up, the big show that he's got coming up on Sunday. A lot of excitement going on. I don't know if you guys get into racing, Frank or Jill. Are you race car fans?
We're Formula One race car fans.
That's what I was going to say. Formula One, it's been really growing in the United States market.
Right.
Like it's been big overseas for years.
We didn't used to be able to get it over here when we first moved over here. So now.
Oh, where'd you come from?
From England.
Oh,
so,
no kidding.
So now we can get it. Obviously, it's in England. I used to watch that with my dad years ago, and it was great. And we still watch it. That's probably one of the few things I will get up early to watch live is a Formula One.
You know, we have another race car fan on the phone. Do you know who that might be? Mr. Bruce Becker.
Ah, there you go.
He likes racing too, because on the weekends he does our racing segment. But I don't think he knows about those cars, but he knows about NASCAR a lot more. So, hey, Bruce. You know that, huh? So, hey, Bruce, I do want. Hey, Bruce, I do want to get you on because there is some talk of some severe weather tonight. We got the winds really whipping around outside of our studio right now. I notice it's whipping about 30 plus miles an hour. What are we looking at? Are we going to see some potential? Because a lot of this stuff looks like it's hanging north. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. By the way, we hit 84 degrees right here at the studio today, something we have not seen all year. So this is like the warmest day of 2025. Not unheard of to see 80 plus degrees in April, is it? Uh-huh. Well, and I know we've seen some rain as of late, but we're still kind of in that drought, aren't we, a little bit? Mm-hmm. And we've had I'm looking at some numbers here for the month of April. We've had a little more than 2 inches of rain. That's almost close, but I think we usually see a lot of rain in April because those bringing that May flowers into the picture, right? Mm-hmm. What are we looking at in the next week or so? We're looking at warmer weather, aren't we? I was hoping you get out of this roller coaster ride. I want consistently good.
What's the low
weather
for this week?
You in Illinois.
Yeah, I know. Well, you got Lake Michigan. It's cold over there. And once that wind comes off the lake, what is it, 45 degrees? Is that what the lake temperature is? Wow.
Ooh, yeah.
Ah. No kidding.
Wow.
So how do you warm up the lake? Is there a switch we can turn on at some point? Oh, boy. So tonight we are looking for some storms that are probability, even though the line is kind of hanging a bit north right now. I did see a couple lines that kind of fell apart as the afternoon went on, but I do see stuff around Minneapolis that could be making its way west to east and sagging southeast. Mm-hmm. So if you go further north into Wisconsin, you'll see the storms more so tonight? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's throw some football passes. I know Jill's not the big football fan totally, but I will say this. I got to give the pat on the back to Green Bay, Lambeau Field. The NFL draft was outstanding. The fans came out in huge numbers up there in Green Bay over the weekend. I heard thousands, 200,000, 300,000 that showed up out there. They really made the NFL draft look good. I thought the coverage was okay. It wasn't totally bad, a little drawn out, a little boring at times.
It was way too.
I thought it was still a pretty good draft to have up in Green Bay.
I agree with that.
I was trying to get you to be more positive than that.
I agree with you. It was way too focused on Shedeur Sanders. The other prospects didn't get any time to shine. Shedeur Sanders dug himself into the hole with a large ego and a big mouth.
But it's not just him, though. It's not him, guys.
But what I'm saying is they spent hours talking about Sanders. In the 5th, 6th, and 7th round, when you've got some of these late round guys that you can get featured, and you're talking about a guy who really didn't do a whole lot to be here. He was an average quarterback at best.
But Frank, we got to talk about picks that the Bears and Packers got. Okay, the Bears did something that we did not expect in this draft. They went right after a tight end, and they went after a wide receiver who played down at East St. Louis. I'm not sure if I like some of these picks. They kind of bypassed some of the offensive and defensive edge rushers they could have gotten in the early rounds that have a lot of talent. And that's what surprises me on this. You may have gotten yourself another tight end to help you out. You may have gotten yourself a wide receiver, but did they miss out on somebody that could help out on the offensive line coming from the SEC? That's what bothers me.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. They spent so many millions and millions of dollars in free agency after linemen. They're not going to take a flyer on some random guy out of the SEC who may or may not pan out. You're going to spend the Bears had the highest cap, one of the highest caps in the NFL. And what did they do? They went out and Ryan Poles spent buckets and buckets of money on people that were proven in the NFL. They were proven winners, whether that be in Atlanta, Indianapolis, etc.
But there's one problem as you get excited for. Okay, you have an organization here and management that still can't get the job done. We have seen
they will make the playoffs this year. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
They will not make the playoffs. You got a tougher schedule. You have an inept offensive line. I don't care. You got free agents.
Inept? No. Have you seen the guy they brought in?
Be innovative, but you know something. He's going to find it to be tougher than it looks. All right.
The Bears will make the playoffs and get past the wild card round.
We'll see.
That especially with the weapons they added.
We'll see.
I mean. You got the biggest steal for the Bears was actually the running back they took in the 7th round, kid out of Rutgers. My buddy Joe Beninati, he broadcasts Big Ten football, and I have a number of opportunities to watch this kid from Rutgers play. He could be the biggest steal that the Bears have. He's that good.
Bruce?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, also, we got to talk about the Packers. What do we think what they did? They went off to get a wide receiver, a golden wide receiver. I got to throw that in there. Made some other choices around the offense and the defense. They kind of went around the gamut here. I think the Packers are still better off than the Bears right now.
No way. No how. No way. They're about the same, is what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, just looking down the list of the Packers, got an offensive tackle. They picked up another wide receiver actually in the third round. They went linebacker, offensive tackle, a cornerback, and another offensive tackle in the seventh round. So, second round they picked up an offensive tackle, Anthony Belton out of NC State. Mm-hmm. By the way, the draft makes a move to Pittsburgh next year, just to let you know. For those people that are looking ahead towards next year. I still like the way the Packers kind of made this look good. And by the way, Clay Matthews really tried to come out. Did you see this bid he
did.
Especially with saying the Bears still suck. I thought that was hilarious. What's that?
Yes, Seth Rollins doing with the Chicago Bears for the draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
That was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a bar when they were doing the draft, and all the people who had been overserved were pounding on the table and screaming, "Hey, it's Seth Rollins. Let's go."
Uh-huh. Hey, guys, one other note before we go in a couple of minutes. I do want to bring this up because we're talking football draft, and Hall of Famer Mongo McMichael passed away over last week. And I think it was a little overshadowed by a lot of people. But, man, he went through a lot with ALS, and maybe he woke some people up about what ALS is all about. And, here's a guy that was probably the biggest guy that you ever saw, but he left like a teddy bear, and it's just unfortunate to see that for his wife, see it for the Bears, and for people that followed that whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the thing is, you look at where, when he passed away last week, he was down to 100 pounds?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I'll tell you, all the people that went to see him, all the people that supported him, and I go back to the Hall of Fame, last summer, and they couldn't get him there. They did a piece from, his home, but it would have been great if he could have been able to make the Hall of Fame and be there in person.
I agree.
That's the burning question in a way. Why did they wait so long on this whole thing? Mm-hmm. But he was a guy, like I said, he was a gentle giant. You would not want to be on the other side of the ball when he was playing. And actually, the one thing I liked about him was the fact. Remember the seventh inning stretch where he came out and went after Angel Hernandez?
Yes, I saw that on X.
And I got a kick out because I saw that on X or on Twitter, and I'm like, man, how can you forget about what he did? And Hernandez is looking up, and he's like, oh, shut up there. What's that? Oh, yeah, he got thrown out of baseball, didn't he? Oh, I see.
It
Yeah.
wouldn't shock me
He
for a
tried
person
to.
like Angel Hernandez. It wouldn't shock me for a person with his temperament.
I wouldn't doubt that. You're probably right on that.
Exactly. His temperament, he didn't know how to conduct himself away from the mound. It's fine if you disagree with someone. It's fine if you have the final say, but you don't need to be a jerk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. One last thing, I want to bring Jill on this. ALS, Jill, and you're a nurse over the years.
Well, not really, but
No, I'm just
worked
saying,
in a
but you
hospital,
know about
yeah.
ALS and how much it's stricken Mongo McMichael, but a lot of people have been affected by that.
Right, a
It's
lot
tough.
of famous people too. Not a
Yeah.
lot of famous, but some famous people have been affected by that. So it's awful, you know. Affects the muscles and everything, and yeah,
And it comes on very fast too.
yeah. I don't know how quickly that comes on. I don't know if that depends on the person who gets it, but yeah, it's very sad. Very sad.
All right, Jill. I know we got to run out of here. Yeah, that's true.
Doing good. Omaha's a good place this time of year. I'll be back there next week. USHL draft is coming up, so it's good to be home for a little bit, though.
All right, we got to get out of here, guys. Top of the hour coming up. I'm looking for Marty. Where is
I
Marty?
know it's quiet. There's no bacon.
Yeah, there's
Can't
no-
smell it.
I thought I smelled bacon, but we got to run out of here. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you,
to
Lindsay,
Ron
for
Curtis
listening,
Grace.
and John. Yeah,
Oh, you had all those great people listening. Oh,
I
my.
know. I got people listening.
All right, we're out of here. So long, everybody.
I could stay awake just to hear you breathe.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Hello, this is Ted Schneider, host of Improv Leadership, coming to you live on 98.3 FM The Life, Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'll discuss a variety of topics from relationship advice, self-improvement topics, motivational topics, mindful living, current events, book reviews, and even an occasional guest in the studio. So please join me on Improv Leadership, Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on 98.3 FM The Life, or streaming live on 983thelife.com.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?